This is a flower.
This map is from the year 1990, in the time of the government of Yitzhak Shamir, Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir. This is a map of Shomron and Yehuda, planning settlements and cities for 2 million Jews. Now, in order to produce this precise program, there were 15 teams working for the Ministry of Shikun, of Housing, 15 teams working for a year to plan these cities, towns, farms for Jews to join the existing Jewish communities and to go on new communities in Shomron and Yehuda. So this planning of the old new hills of Shomron, of Samaria and Judea, this is the most natural development of the state of Israel towards the biblical sources, the biblical roots of our nation. Jews from all over the world are coming to the land of Israel, and there will be even a bigger ingathering. This plan is a paper. What we see with our eyes every day is the rebirth of a nation.
We found ourselves after the Six-Day War ruling all of Judea and Samaria and the Golan. Rabbi Levinger, my close friend, Zichrono Livracha, and myself, we were not in the yeshiva anymore then, in 1967. We served in positions, rabbinical positions, after the Six-Day War. We felt that the God of Israel, our God, opened the gates of Judea and Samaria, the heart of Israel, so that we, the Jews, can bring back Jewish life to these areas. And we, as people of faith, we understood what our God expects us to do. And the first practical step was to help the orphans of Gush Etzion, of Kfar Etzion, to come back to Kfar Etzion and bring back to life Kibbutz Kfar Etzion. The head of that group was our close friend, Rabbi Hanan Porat. Right after Sukkot in 1967, And we decided that the first place that should be settled and rebuilt was Hebron. Our friends suggested that we meet with a minister in the Israeli government, Yigal Alon. So we went to meet him, Rabbi Levinger and myself, and we asked him, how can you advise us to receive a permit from our government? And he answered in these words, are you crazy? Zionism demands that you create facts on the ground first, and then the permit will come later. And so we moved here to say September of 71. And also we had to struggle for our rights to pray at the Marat HaMachpelah, because when we came here, we only had rights to visit Marat HaMachpelah 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon.
Yishai Fleischer. I am the international spokesman for the Jewish community of Hebron. What an amazing honor it is to serve in this job. That's because I represent not only a Jewish community that is here today, but one that's really been here for the last 3,500 years. I'm standing behind me is the tomb of the forefathers and mothers. It's a monument unlike any other in the world, where really there are tombs of foundations of this incredible peoplehood called the Jewish people. And the people that are buried here are Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Leah. And this monument has been here, as I said, for about 3,800 years. And then the building itself, that big castle-like building behind me, that's 2,000 years old. That's a Herodian structure. And we also, by being here, allow for about 700,000 visitors to come here a year, visitors and pilgrims. And this is the place that in the 1948 Independence War, while we won independence, we lost our ancestral homeland. The Six-Day War was the continuation and the fixing of what was missed in the 48 Independence War. The Six-Day War is really an independence war, independence for the heartland.
Jewish people. I live in Hebron for the last 25 years, and zeo, only good things, only good things. This morning, grandchild number 45 was born. I'm going to visit her now in the hospital. I got my camera, and zeo, you live in Israel, you get big brachas. That's all. That's the beginning and the end.
Then our movement, Gush Emunim, became more and more stronger and bigger, and we had the support of tens of thousands of people from all over the country. We made march, not one march, in Samaria, few, and thousands of people joined us to support the resettling. So we decided to make the big march to Samaria with thousands of people. We had a very, very rainy day, cold night, but people walked a couple of good hours from the border in Netanya towards Sebastia, which is about 30 plus kilometers to walk in a rainy day, cold day, but the people wanted to show their atmosphere to come to Sebastia. And thanks God, all of them came, and we gathered there about 5,000 people, This is in Sebastia, the 10th, that December 75, where all the supporters came and stayed here in the tent. Of course, the Rabin and Peres, which they were the leaders, Prime Minister and Minister of Defense, they didn't know what to do. The government saw that they have no choice. They were afraid of a very big fight, clash. So they said, okay, we'll sign an agreement with the settlers, and as the Rabin said, within 2 weeks, all of them will disappear from the mountains. This was the agreement with Shimon Peres. It says here, the settlers will leave Sebastia, where we were. Our Garin Elon More, our group, which are 30 families, will go to an army camp nearby, under army control. You'll have a free to move in and out. The army will help you in getting jobs with no obligation that this settlement will be a yeshuv, a settle. Minister of Defense will bring this question of the settlement within 3 months to make decisions. The government should make decision about the policy of the settlement in Judea and Samaria. It was signed, yes.
By?
Shimon Peres and ourselves. Now looking at the celebration in Sebastia after the decision of the government to let us stay 30 families in Samaria. This is Rabbi Levinger, this is Menachem Felix, and other members of our group. We're looking at the meeting after Sebastia victory in Shimon Peres' room. This is Shimon Peres, that's Hanan Porat, that's Rabbi Levinger, that's me, Amnon. We signed an agreement, which I show you the agreement, that 30 families should stay there, and the rest is history. This is the main street of Kedumim. The first tent that we had is 2 children, 2 girls, and this is our house that we had. This is me and Menachem Begin, and beside you see Arik Sharon, and I think the second day after the election of Begin, we invited him to come to visit Kedumim, a speech saying that there will be a lot of Elonoi Mereh.
Hello friends, I'm living in Kedumim, one of the founders. People were skeptic that we will manage. We had no physical assistance, we didn't have running water, no electricity. Difficult times, but we felt after the 6-day war, this message that if we won such a war, it tells to us something. It tells to us, you have to take out of this war what the message is, to settle in the land. We believe that in few years we will be 1 million Jews here. And as people say, we are not an obstacle to peace. We are an obstacle to the annihilation of Israel. We are the solution to the safety and to hold Israel forever. We are in miracle times. Since then, the establishment of Israel, that Israel, the Jews came back to their land. A lot of tests, a lot of hardships, a lot of people that we lost on the way, political pressures. But when you see what we achieved, we feel that we are fulfilling the prophets of the Bible, coming back to the heart of Israel, the rebirth of the nation.
מכל החסדים ומכל האמת שעשית את עבדך. קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת שעשית.
Hi, my name is Shai. I'm the mayor of Alfei Menashe. Alfei Menashe is a small town in the middle of the country with 8,000 people. It's mixed population. We have people from all over the country coming here to Alfei Menashe to build their house. Very nice community. We are probably one of the most volunteering community in Israel per population. Me myself, I was in the high tech, and I have a very large business orientation. And my vision is to make Alfei Menashe bigger, greater, and successful. I invite you, all of you, to visit us. We have a great view from north to south and to the Mediterranean Sea, and you are more than welcome. Thank you.
Welcome to Ma'on in the Judean Hills. We have about 85 families here, and it's just a wonderful place to be.
It's a wonderful place for families with young kids. They just run around the yeshuv. We don't even have a...
Run in and out of each other's friends' houses and neighbors' houses.
Welcome to Judea. The kingdom is coming. The kingdom of God is coming.
We are so happy to have you with us in Migdalim to celebrate Seder Tu B'Shvat.
Yes!
We are celebrating Seder Tu B'Shvat almost like Seder in Pesach, okay? So if you look on the table, everything is from Eretz Israel, the land of Israel. First of all, we start with the children. They are the fruit of Eretz Israel.
Yes, yes.
Mishpachat Shiloh in Migdalim, my son, my great son and his wife Yael. My husband, my dearest husband.
Yes, yes.
Chita.
From
the Negev, and we have bread, chalot, special for this Seder that Yael, my sweet daughter-in-law, made from the flour from Israel, the flour.
Yeah.
And she made
I know that thing in English.
And she made a special chalot for Tu B'Shvat with all the fruits, pomegranate, olives, dates, kiwi, everything, pomela. It's a farsemon. We didn't buy one fruit from Turkey. It's only Israel made.
שלום זה. ט"ו בשבט היום בו נוטעים עצים על האדמה הכל כך אהובה שלנו. עם ישראל היה בגלות כל כך הרבה שנים וחזרנו חזרה. לאורך כל שנות הגלות. הרבה עמים ניסו להתיישב בארץ, אבל האדמה האהובה שלנו לא נתנה להם את פירותיה ולא החזירה להם אהבה. כמו אמא שמחכה לילדים, היא חיכתה לבנים האהובים שיחזרו הביתה. לפני 70 שנה חזרנו הביתה מכל ארצות תבל. והנה אז, בדיוק אז, האדמה האהובה הזו החלה לתת פירותיה, העצים החלו לתפוס בקרקע, והשממה הפכה לגן רווה, למדבר פורח. חזרנו חזרה אל האדמה האהובה שלנו, לא כדי לנטוש אותה מחדש, אלא כדי להיות כאן לנצח.
Sisters, we just finished Shabbat, Parashat Yitro. We just got the Torah. We are here in Shomron. Thank God. Todah LaHashem that chose the land of Israel for us. We didn't ask him. We don't know why he chose this piece of land, but he did. We are here more than 40 years. Now it's a time to every one of us to choose again the land of Israel. It's our private decision to choose again if it belongs to our forefathers only or for us in these days. And thank God we have such a success. 500,000 of Jews are living in Judea and Samaria, and now it's the time to think about Judea and Samaria as part of our life. Kingdom. The land of Israel is calling us, calling you. Come, take part of it, and be part of the Judea and Samaria.
Hi, I'm Yosef Barak, and this is my wife, Ronelle, and we live in the Judean Hills here in Mitzpe Yair. The place is amazing.
Yes, we live in, like Yosef said, in a small yeshuv called Mitzpe Yair, in the southern hills of Hebron. When we came here as a family 4 years ago, we were number 17. Today, Baruch Hashem, we are 30 families in the yeshuv. Our family, Yosef and I, we don't stay in the yeshuv. We're on this small little farm right next to the yeshuv, where we started the Beit Cafe, a little coffee shop. It's a bit more than a coffee shop. It's a small restaurant where we received guests from all over the world. We show them our beautiful area. This is the area where most of the Psalms that you read of David was written. Yeah, this is our little place.
Yes, and we're also on the route of the spies. The ancient city of Arad is just down here, and we believe that when the spies came, they came really literally past our house on this road, and a caliph went to Hebron at Machpelah to pray there, and this is the way. So we feel we are really connected to the current and to the past.
My name is A.Y. Katzoff. Right behind me is my home, where I live with my wife and 6 children, and about 1,300 grape trees that we make grape wine, best wine in the region. And we came here, we wanted to plant vineyards. And everybody told us, they said, look at this rock. We're going to put a tree into this. The tree needs gravel, it needs dirt. And we says, but it says in Jeremiah 31, it says, the Jews will come back to the land, and they shall plant vineyards in the mountains of Samaria and drink the wine. And we came to the mountains. If you look all the way over there, notice you see on one side is all the rocks, and the other side, where we cleared out the rocks, broke the bedrock down, drilled holes, put the trees inside, and now they found out that when the trees have to dig deep down to try to find moisture, it brings up all the minerals from the mountain and creates the best #1 wine grape there is today in Israel. The grapes come in here. The first batch just came in here this week, and they go into the vat. And he comes here at least twice a day and mixes it while they're being fermented to get all the flavors from the peels and the pits and everything inside the grapes, the color. The wine rests here for about 18 months, 18 to 20 months. The wine just rests in these barrels. You know, so you plant the trees, we waited 5 years till you get a nice harvest. You harvest the grapes. It sits in the barrel for 2 years, and then in the bottle for about another year. So yeah, it's a lot of patience, about 8 years from when you plant up till it gets to somebody's Shabbat table. But when they finally gets there, when he drinks that wine, and he looks at it, and he thinks about everything that it went through, from the planting, going to sleep in the winter and surviving the snow days, strong suns in the summer, growing, the leaves coming out, the grapes coming out, being protected from the animals, getting this exact right amount of water for it to stay healthy but not to be bursted with water. The hand picked at night, being brought here very carefully, crushed, fermenting for 40 days, doing a second fermentation, sitting in the barrel for about 1.5 years, being bottled, aging in the bottle for about a year, finally getting to your glass of wine and drinking it. And that's why it says that when you say the blessing, Borei Pri Hagafen and Kiddush, on Shabbat wine, you're supposed to think about how God protects the Jewish people. When you have that final product, the same thing, the Jewish people, 2,000 years of exile, all different countries, so finally coming back to the land, to the redemption, back to our homeland, to our ground, to our gravel, where we go down and we pick up the gravel. We're back home, we feel at home, and the land feels us too. And then we get to the final, beautiful, perfect product that went through so much. You could almost smell the whole story in the glass up to this final moment. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Shalom friends, my name is Nati Rom. I live in Esh Kodesh, in the heartland, in Judea and Samaria. And we are here trying to connect ourselves to this holy land, to the covenant, to the prophecies, to come to continue the Zionist work. After our military service, we came a few boys to this area. We live in a car for a year and a half, without electricity, without water. It was hard times, but also beautiful times to be here. Without even one light, it was all dark in the night. You can see thousands of stars. We were here alone, and slowly, more and more people started to join us. Friends all over the world, we are here connected with the heartland and with Am Yisrael, and we need you to be connected. It's not a work that we do alone. It's a work that we need to do all together. This is our home. זה הבית שלנו. Come and visit. You are more than welcome to come. Be in touch. And come to see the heartland of Israel. You can see how beautiful is the landscape. There is so many beautiful things. So every piece of history, every place that you go here, you find something else. So many secrets, so many beautiful landscape. And I'm inviting you to come and to join and to connect to this beautiful heartland.
The first Shabbat on, when we came here, we said to the Migdalos people, we're building an Eruv, come and daven here, come and pray here for Shabbat. And walk from Migdalos, it's nothing, it's 800 meters. What, to walk on the back? We never opened the back road for years, the back door for years because of Bet Fajah. I said, but now the time has come to open your back door, walk here, and let's start having weekly davening here. So of course the kibbutz is a kibbutz. They had a gathering, and Baruch Hashem, after a few minutes, they all voted that of course we're opening our gate and we're walking. And here we are on the first Shabbat that we were here. After a few days of being, there was nothing yet. There was no electricity. There's nothing that you see here. It was just little tents and a lot of garbage still. But here we saw on that road almost the entire kibbutz dressed in their white shirt with their funny kibbutz carriages, etc., walking. And since then, Migdal Oz, Alon Shvut, Elazar, and Efrat, a whole group of people, every Shabbat walk here to have davening here, and Yudit and Sri Katzaver receive them, welcome them with an incredible kiddush. And in the shul that we built here, inside this little house, we have 2 Sifrei Torah, and every week, Baruch Hashem, we have davening Friday night, and I think together with the soldiers, we built the soldiers a tent here, as you can see. At one point, 6 years ago, Yudit said, what, are we going to continue? I mean, that's not how we're going to save Judea and Samaria. So it took 6 years to redeem that Judea army base, and another 7 years in Netzer, and another Adoraim base took us. Those are little places in Judea and Samaria that we indeed redeemed, but that's not what's going to save Judea and Samaria and keep it in our hands. And I'll just finish, and that's when she said we have to get to the core of the problem. And the core of the problem is that Judea and Samaria doesn't have Israeli sovereignty, and we, the national camp, we always are great at 2 things. A, we're great at building Yeshuvim. We brought 700,000 Jews in Judea and Samaria, including East Jerusalem. And B, we are great at saying no. No to a Palestinian state. No to giving them weapons. No to releasing murderers. What is our yes? That's when we started our sovereignty campaign. Basically, Women in Green now, basically we created a movement called the Sovereignty Movement.
First of all, welcome to Beit El. I'm so glad that you can join us. We are atop the water tower in the town of Beit El. If you could look around, you'll see north, south, east and west, every direction. There's a beautiful view of the land of Israel. We're not stopped by buildings, by other mountains. The mountain of Beit El is over 900 meters above sea level, so that's why you could really see everything. I want you to focus for a minute on this mosaic map. And along this mountain range, you'll notice all of the holy biblical cities of Israel, starting in the south from Beersheba, that's this red dot, that's where Abraham lived. As you move north, you get to Hebron, where the Machpelah cave is, and almost all of our forefathers and foremothers are buried. And then as you move north, there's Jerusalem right here. And of course, that's our holiest city. North of Jerusalem, you'll see right on this dot, that's Beit El, and that's where we are now. If you continue moving north, you'll see Shiloh, where the tabernacle stood for 369 years, and Shem, which is Nablus in English, that's where Joseph is buried. You keep moving up the same mountain range, and you get to Tiberias and Sfat. This mountain range is really the main highway of biblical times. So on the road that you, Ezra, traveled getting here from Jerusalem, that's really the same road that Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Joshua and Jeremiah and all of our prophets and kings and queens walked and traveled with their donkeys and their camels on the very same road that you traveled. We're going to be walking into this gate and entering the area where Jacob himself had that latter dream where God gave him 4 promises. Come on in. This is a holy site. Huge bedrock. I want you to notice, first and foremost, that there's a piece of the bedrock that's standing out. You could see it stands out from the rest of the rock. This rock is flat, and it's clear that this part of the rock stands out. Now look at the shape of this. What does this look like to you? A lot of people say that it looks like the state of Israel. We don't know for sure. Nobody was here. Nobody is alive today from the time of Jacob's magical dream to be able to tell us that this is 100% certainly the place where Jacob slept. But there's so many things that point to this spot, and I'm going to share some of them with you. And he touched the place, and he decided to sleep there because the sun was going down. And he took from the stones of the place and put them under his head, and he lay into sleep in that place. Vayachalom. And he had a dream. And there was a ladder standing firmly on the ground with its head, its pinnacle, reaching the skies. And angels of God are going up and down this ladder. And God was at the top of the ladder. And he said, I am God, the Lord of your father Abraham and the Lord of Isaac. The land upon which you are lying, I will give to you and to your children after you. Our commentator Rashi, one of the greatest commentators on the Tanakh, explains that all of the land of Israel folded under Jacob to become a part of this promise given to our forefather Jacob. Meaning, if this is the shape of the land of Israel, and this is the rock upon which he was lying, then all of the land of Israel was included in this promise to Jacob, that the land will be given to Jacob and to all of his descendants after him. I shall return you to this land, and I shall not leave you until I have fulfilled this promise that I have made to you. I shall return you to this land. Where are we standing? Where are our feet? Can you imagine that we have the incredible privilege of being returned to this land? Awakes from his dream and says, God is in this place, and I hadn't realized it. He becomes afraid. It's how awesome this place is. It is none other than a house of God and the gate to heaven. And then in the morning, Jacob wakes up and he takes the stone which he had placed under his head and he makes it into an altar and he pours oil above it. He calls the name of that place Bet-El, the house of God. And the name previously had been Luz. I want to go back to this rock that we talked about. Now, I don't know how many of you were paying close attention, but if you go back and listen, Jacob collected a number of rocks and put them under his head. And when he woke up, there was one rock under his head. Our commentators explain to us that the rocks combine to one. And this rock, the part that is standing out, is actually a conglomerate. What is a conglomerate? It's a number of rocks that have been welded together, usually on the ocean floor, and usually because of a millennia of water weight. But in this case, overnight, rocks joined together into one, the ones that were under Jacob as he slept in this place.
So the bus is outside. Go to bus A, please.
They came here, they said, that flat plateau fits perfectly the description, because it says that in the battle where we lost the ark to the Philistines, right, which that Eli was already blind, but he was sitting in a spot so that if somebody were coming up the road, they'd get to him first, right by the Mishkan. In other words, from today's road was the ancient road, and that would have been the road where they would have come from the Battle of Afek, the area of Petach Tikva. They would have come up this way like Ariel. It's in that direction. So they're coming here, they'd come to him. So the area that they're digging down there, you see there's some very thick looking walls. Right? So already I was brought here, this was, I'll tell you what year, 1974. by Rabbi Yoel Ben Nun, who's both a rabbi and a researcher, does some archaeological stuff and that sort of thing. And he said this is where it was. On these hills, guys, there's an area that you get on a ring all around you here. That hill, that hill, that hill. Same area. Below it, you find the remains of the broken pottery. Beyond it, nothing. And it fits exactly the dimensions that the halacha gives for that. So he said there's no question, just from the finds out there, that this is the focus over here where the Mishkan was, because people would eat the sacrifice. They had to see the place. So they're up the slope there, up the slope there, up the slope there, and seeing it, and not going beyond and breaking their utensils afterwards.
We had the honor, the privilege, the challenge of coming to Shiloh at the end of the first year of the re-existence of Shiloh. Shiloh. People, when I guide, I'm a tour guide also, ask me why did I choose Shiloh, and after I say to them, wait until you come to Shiloh, and then the answer should be obvious. And establish this is the first capital where the tribes, 8 of the tribes got their land from Goral. The Mishkan was here for 369 years. That's almost the same amount of time as the Beit HaMikdash in Yerushalayim. This was one of the most famous and important sites in our history. And Avotenu, our grandparents, lived here. Now we know from the archaeological excavations up until after the Bar Kokhba rebellion, meaning there was 1,500 years, 1,600 years of straight Jews, my grandparents, of them living right over here. Then it was destroyed, made barren, like most of Eretz Israel did, throughout all the generations, waiting for us to come back. I am holding in my hand a silver coin. It's not the silver coin used in the Beit HaMikdash, but it's beautiful. It has a lot of meaning to it. Zot Nachalatenu Chemdatenu. This is the eternal Jewish heartland, but in the translation of those words, this is our heartland, our what was given to us by the good Lord, and our beautiful and very special one. And the map has of Ephraim and Binyamin, and we indeed are located in Ephraim. Shiloh is in the tribe of Ephraim, and right opposite the windows of my house, I see the tribe of Binyamin, and I see the tribe of Yehuda, and I also see the tribe of Reuven and tribe of Gad and Chasishev and Menashe. I can basically from my window see almost 7 of the tribes, of the area of the tribes.
So what I want to let everybody know about the people of Eli is that we make up about 1,000 families. People who live here, they make up lawyers, doctors, plumbers, they're in the army, they're engineers, and people who are a lot of teachers. A lot of people are living in our little bubble, as everybody lives in a community bubble, but also goes out throughout the whole country to have real influence. So I think that the energy behind living in Eli is not just to sit here and to build in the land, but to build and to go out and bring people in and go out and to make this country just a better place. So this is the modern highway that goes up and down north-south through Judea and Samaria, and it's not a coincidence that this road here is being used in our modern times, because in our ancient times this is the same road that Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, that the 12 tribes, they all walked up. This is the road, this is the ancient road that they would go, and this is where Joseph came to go check up on his brothers, where he was thrown into the pit. It was here. This is where it is. So we're learning the Torah, we're learning Tanakh, we're learning the Bible. We're living the Bible here. This is what I'm saying beforehand, is that everything, living here, it's not, you can't separate yourself from our past. It's part of us. It's like a paper that folds over. We have our past and we have our present, we have our future. It's all together. There's only one future for the Jewish people, and that's in the land of Israel. And more specifically, we want people more to come to Judea and Samaria, because that's where you're really going to connect, because that's where our history is. That's why we came back to Israel after 2,000 years, but we settled in Tel Aviv, we settled in Haifa, we settled in all of these different places. Why? Because they were the closest to the heartland that we could get to at the time. And now we're here. So my advice to everybody is that if your heart is here, then your body should be here. Everybody should be here. That's to live and to grow in Israel, to move to Israel, to come home. When you come home, you completely change the trajectory of your future, just like that. But the benefits of living here are so much greater than the challenges that you have.
Here we are on Mount Gerizim, Har Bracha, the Mountain of Blessing. Take a look at the view here. We can see the entire land of the Shomron, of Samaria. On one end we have the community of Itamar. Here in the center we have Yitzhar. On Har Bracha. Look at this beautiful land. It's waiting. It's just waiting for the entire Jewish nation to return home, to build their houses and their families and their futures here in the land of Israel. You can see here a 5-story building that is under construction that will be housing great numbers of Jewish families living here. And if we turn around, on this side of the community we see a synagogue, a Beit Knesset that is being built here in the yeshiva of Har Bracha. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the rebirth of the nation. God promised us that the Jewish nation would return to its land, and this is proof of what is going on today here in Eretz Israel, in the Holy Land. It's today housing probably about 1,000 students here in Har Bracha, and there are students who come from neighboring communities as well. Beautiful children. They are the future of the Jewish nation in the land of Israel. And there's the Bracha blend, the Highlander, all different beautiful tastes of the grapes that are grown here on the Mountain of Blessing. And you can really taste the blessing in the wine. Here we'll be tasting the Joseph Har Bracha wine, l'chaim, to life, to blessings. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
one of my favorite people. I mean, I love every person. I love every person. But Tzvika Shilgi and his wife Ruth are the founders of the idea, the thoughts in their heart of establishing a settlement that 40 years later on we're meeting him and we are great and proud of you.
So it was a dream, and the reality is more than the dream.
The place is called Hill 777. The official name is Givat Arnon, Arnon Hill. It's named after a guy named Aryeh Orlando Agragnoni, who was killed here 18 years ago during the Second Intifada. He guarded this place. He actually replaced me in guarding when I went to Miluim, to the army reserve, for a week, and he replaced me, and he was murdered on this hill. Most people call it 777, 777.
So how many people live here?
About 25 families, a few more bachelors, and
okay.
Okay, so I have some agriculture, a vineyard, about 25 dunams, and a winery, most of which I make organic grape juice, a little bit of wine I started now, and moreover I have some olive trees. I have some olive trees, we make olive oil, and most of my earning is not from agriculture, but I'm a professor of mathematics in Ariel University. I teach maths for, especially for engineers. I have 6 kids, and it's a wonderful place to live here. It's we look around us. It's a place more or less the border between Ephraim and Menashe. North of us is the land of Menashe, and we're more or less on the border of it. And behind us.
And I worked hand in hand with Rabbi Levinger. I asked Rabbi Levinger, how come we have to pay again, to pay the Arabs for property, for land that belongs to us? So Rabbi Levinger told me that he asked Rabbi Tzvi Yehuda Kook, the son of Rav Kook, who was the first rabbi of the settlements in Eretz Israel more than 100 years ago. And Rabbi Tzvi Yehuda Kook, who was also the inspiration for the entire Gush Emonim movement, told Rabbi Levinger, and so I was taught that in Eretz Israel you have to buy again and again and again, and it is never too expensive. There is an expression in the Gemara that Ein Ona'a Lemekarkein. That is to say, you cannot say, he was cheating me, it took too much money for this piece of land. No. If he is ready to sell, and the price he says, and you have this sum, and you can buy it instantly, do it. With this explanation, at a very specific moment, when this coin was produced on the occasion, on the anniversary of the 40th anniversary of Jewish settlement in Shomron. And we can see here Rabbi Levinger and Rabbi Hanan Porat dancing on the shoulders of people, settlers, who were on the shoulders of settlers who were dancing as a result of the announcement of the Israeli government that we can stay in Shomron, that the world knows that Am Yisrael is strong. And when you see the attacks on the state of Israel today, and the ban, the boycott on products from Judea and Samaria, you have to understand, it's not because we are weak that the world now attacks. The blows that we get, the boycott, the ban, anti-Semitic attacks, are not because Am Yisrael is weak, it's because Am Yisrael is strong. But the attacks on the state of Israel and on the idea of communities in Judea and Samaria as if we were overlooking some area in the midst of Europe, it's the heart of our homeland. These attacks are one clear sign. It's because Am Yisrael is strong.
We are sitting right now in Mount of Olives. Mount of Olives that is in the eastern side of the Old City, viewing the Temple Mount, viewing the Old City, but viewing all of Jerusalem. I moved here 22 years ago as a single. We were just 4 singles that moved here at 1997. This house was not here, it was just the Arab small house that we moved into after paying the Arabs to leave the house. But you should know that we returned back. Started already at 1886. 2 Jewish businessmen, one Moshe Wittenberg and the other Nissen Beck, they bought this land thinking that in the future this will be part of the Jewish cemetery of Mount of Olives. But the Turkish, the Ottoman Empire, didn't allow Jews to be buried in the southern part of Mount of Olives, like where we are now. And just after 1967, the heirs were able again to come back to their land that was abandoned, despite one building that was built right here illegally by an Arab that was the governor of this area, that was appointed to this position by the king of Jordan. And he built his house, of course, why not, on the Jewish land. 1997 we moved here after we paid the family of this governor to leave the house that was not belong to them. And thank God today We are in a neighborhood, a Jewish neighborhood. We are in a brand new house, modern building. 130 Jewish families living today in Mount of Olives. Jews are coming to Mount of Olives today to celebrate birthdays, bar mitzvah, weddings, brit milah. It's a community. A synagogue that is being built, under construction, as you see. The only building, the only synagogue in Mount of Olives, real synagogue. Looking at the old city, Temple Mount, see it's a kind of a gated neighborhood. And here a friend, a neighbor, Josh.
Hi.
Wonder.
I think it's amazing. I feel very privileged to live in such a special place in such a special time. And we are very close in the community. We're almost 1,000 Jews living in a community that is blossoming, thriving here on Mount of Olives. Most people here in Israel are unaware that there are living Jews here, let alone abroad. And we host American seminary girls every Shabbat, and we take them on tours of the area. There's such a treasure trove of Jewish history here on the mountain, so we're very excited to.
New community it's in the first time in the history of Eretz Israel. The Jews are on Mount of Olives living, and not just under the ground. They're not coming here just after 120 years. We start here new lives. For example, when my daughter was born, the first daughter, Sophia, she is now 18 years old. So a rabbi told me that Tchiyat HaMetim started. Because first time a Jew is being born in Mount of Olives.
והיא שעמדה לאבותינו, והיא שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, עמד עלינו לכלותנו, והיא שעמדה לאבותינו, והיא שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עומד עלינו לכלותנו, עומד עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידם, והקדוש ברוך הוא יצילנו, יצילנו מידם. והיא שעמדה לאבותינו, והיא שעמדה לאבותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עומד עלינו לכלותנו, עומד עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידם, והקדוש ברוך הוא יצילנו, יצילנו מידם, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, הקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, הקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מידם. מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך. קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך. קטונתי מכל החסדים